Welcome to the big picture. It is 9 a.m. on your Tuesday morning.
Yeah, and it's kind of a cool Tuesday. We were in the 50s to start off the day.
And I'm always cold. I got my jacket on. Something's wrong with me.
Yeah,
my circulation's not right.
Totally fine with this weather.
It is really nice. Like low 70s.
Yeah, my
the
windows have
perfect
been
weather.
open for the past couple days.
Yeah, get some fresh air into your house. Awesome.
Right. Because that's the thing. That is what I hate about, like, it's the same thing with summer and winter. Is like your house is closed up and it just feels stale after a while.
Yeah, I know. It's so good to like get some fresh air, let the, new energy, new good vibes. Right. But today is a national holiday, everyone. Can you guess why? It's not really a national holiday, but for a lot of people it is. Pumpkin spice returns to Starbucks.
It's too early.
Too early. I would agree. But I did just ask my husband, I was like, Jason, are you okay if this week I take out the Halloween decorations?
Too early. That's like a mid to late September.
No. But he's a good guy because he said, if that's what you want to do, have at it. Fine. Yep. Okay. Well, let's get into our headlines for today. There's so much going on.
Right.
I mean, from court case,
so today is day 2 of the Bruce Foster trial. That is the man standing accused of opening fire inside that KDC-1 facility there in New Albany in February of last year. We also have an update on the Brianna Dutcher case, which is where she is accused of murdering her mother.
Right. She went before a judge for the first time yesterday, so we'll get into that. And then AAA, we were talking to them about back to school bus safeties, because if you've been out on the roads, you know between 6 a.m. to 9 and even from like 2:30 to 5, there's yellow buses everywhere now, and you got to be safe. So we're going to talk to them about the best procedures you need to follow when you are near a school bus. And then we're also talking to the Columbus Metropolitan Library about their partnership with Children's Hunger Alliance, helping students get snacks once they get out of school. Obviously, school time's a great time to, help feed children, but a lot of kids, they don't get after school snacks and food when they get home. So they're helping bridge that gap.
Breakfast and lunch provided at school sometimes is their only meals of the day.
Exactly. So
let's get into Bruce Foster.
Let's do it.
So yesterday was day 1, and there we heard from a number of his former coworkers. That was, I think there were 3 or 4 called yesterday, who were witnesses to this entire shooting scenario where Foster allegedly went into the KDC-1 facility and opened fire. Now, prosecutors argue that Foster had planned this attack, knew exactly what he was doing, but his defense attorneys are saying that he was delusional at the time, didn't know what was going on due to those longstanding mental health issues. Obviously, we know that he had been involuntarily committed to a hospital twice before. And so these are going to play some big parts in this trial that we know is going to last for a bit. Amy Steigerwald took a quick look at what we saw in court yesterday.
As the new surveillance video was presented, a BCI agent explained the evidence they collected, saying Foster knew what he was doing when he went into his backpack, got a gun, and shot 6 coworkers, killing 2.
Bruce Foster intentionally engaged in these acts.
Foster has pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity and appeared engaged throughout the first day of trial. The defense says Foster had documented mental health issues that weren't properly treated. Columbus police records show Foster was pink-slipped twice in 2022 over mental health concerns.
Something that the court should focus in on is that from all the way back in 2021 on, Bruce is never treated psychiatrically with a psychotropic drug, so no medication to help him.
The defense explained Foster believed his family was trying to kill him and argues he didn't disguise himself during the shooting because he wasn't mentally aware of his actions. Meantime, witnesses from inside the warehouse recalled the terrifying actions from the day the shooting broke out.
I thought my best option was to run because I didn't have a gun. I didn't feel like I had a way to fight back, so I sprinted away.
Okay, and that was Amy Steigerwald reporting. And let's take a look inside the Licking County courtroom
and then around the fall of 24, did Mr. Foster start experiencing some attendance and performance issues?
Yes.
And did you have a meeting with him, or did you speak with him sometime in the fall prior to Christmas of 24?
I did.
And what was the nature of that meeting?
So I got some complaints from my QA lead, Tika, that he addressed it with the supervisor that people are scared to work with him, they don't want to talk to him or something like that, so it was not addressed, so it got escalated to me. So I brought it up to my boss and then eventually to the HR. HR advised me to offer, sit with them, understand if there are any challenges inside or outside work, and offer EAP if it needed to be.
And when you said EAP, what does that stand for?
It's Employee Assistance Program. So I brought Bruce Foster in. I do not remember exact time and date, but overall the conversation, I remember I brought him in. I asked him, do you need any help? I mean, you did not have attendance issues so far. We don't want you to, fail in this role. We wanted to make sure we help you succeed in the role. So let us know if you need any help.
60
I have
witnesses testifying in this trial. It could last anywhere between 5 to 7 days. We were saying 2 weeks yesterday. Obviously, since day one was yesterday, we have more of a better idea of how long this could last. So again, they're interviewing a lot of people, trying to figure out what exactly, transpired that day.
Yeah, and this being a bench trial, we won't have that jury deliberation that we sometimes wait days for.
So
the other case going on right now is that of Brianna Dutcher and her boyfriend and boyfriend's roommate.
Yes, this story is just...
It's so strange.
It's wild.
It's like it is such a bizarre...
So we know
criminal lines case.
Right. So yesterday, Brianna Dutcher, she is an 18-year-old. She is one of them, one of the three that's accused, and she's accused of killing her mother, Tamala Dutcher, who's 55 years old, and they're in Delaware County. Having said all this, she entered a not guilty plea. So that means this court process is going to continue.
Right.
But we know her boyfriend and her boyfriend's friend are also charged with murder in
Christian
connection
Evans,
to this.
who's 20, is the boyfriend. Evans's roommate, DeJamius Payne, is 21. All three are charged with aggravated murder in this case. And what we've kind of learned out of this is, and we talked a little bit about it yesterday, were these text messages that are very... depending on how this falls out, are going to become a very big part of this trial. Right. Because it talks about.
Yeah. According to prosecutors, I mean, they had it all planned out.
Right. It all talks about how we're hiding the bodies. It's very strange.
And they tried to delete the text messages, but because of that search warrant that they were able to get, they found all those texts.
You can't delete anything.
Nothing is safe online with the cloud. But our Ava Hedges, she was in the courtroom yesterday.
Based on the facts of this case, the severity of the offense, his allegations are very serious, and his bond is consistent with similar cases with similar allegations.
This was the third of 3 arraignments in the case of Tamala Dutcher's death. Brianna Dutcher, her boyfriend Christian Evans, and his roommate DeJamius Payne are now all facing aggravated murder charges, and their bonds are set at $3 million each. If convicted, they could face life in prison. In court today, Brianna Dutcher's attorney said Dutcher will plead not guilty. Court documents show messages between Dutcher and Evans that allegedly appear to be planning the murder just hours before the shooting. Dutcher's defense asking the judge to lower the $3 million bond, calling it excessive, arguing Dutcher is only 18 with no prior charges. Also citing the text messages exchanged between Dutcher and Evans don't implicate Brianna in any kind of physical acts of violence.
May have exchanged text messages that, as quote, cast doubt on certain things, but there's no allegation that my client engaged in any acts of violence or took place in any homicide or assaults in this case.
Today I spoke with Christian Evans' neighbor who did not want to go on camera, but says the 3 were very private people and would have never guessed they'd be involved in something like this.
Okay, and that was Ava Hedges reporting. Obviously, we're going to keep following that case because seriously, it seems like an Oxygen movie.
Right. It's like you don't often, I mean, it happens, but cases of matricide are really...
Or to escalate to this point. And then just, again, the fact that Kevin Landers interviewed the mother, Tamala, 2 years ago.
A number of years ago, yeah.
I mean, it just keeps...
But for now, Brianna has pleaded not guilty to these charges against her. So this will continue moving through the court system. I'm not sure when her next hearing is, but obviously we'll be there throughout the entirety of that case.
All right. Well, coming up, we were talking about back to school. We will be joined by AAA talking about the really important reminders you need to remember when you are on the road and you come across a school bus. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
The 10 TV Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust, Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news, live from the scene. All the news you need. 10 TV Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
It is 9:12 here on your Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out with us on The Big Picture. I'm Collin. She's Bryn.
Hello.
It is back to school time. A lot of K-12 schools have already gone back.
Yeah.
OSU's first day. But
Tis the season.
tis the
I can't
season
believe
for the
it.
big yellow buses.
But I was driving around like 3:45 yesterday in the area, and so many school buses driving by. They're crowding the roads again.
Yeah, I know. I passed one, in my neighborhood, one of the Madison County districts, and I was like, "What are you doing over here?"
Yeah, and and let's get to this situation that happened in
Lebanon,
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Look at
Central
this.
Kentucky. It was this, and this is also a K-8, or an elementary school bus.
Right.
This wasn't middle or high school kids. This was firmly elementary kids.
28 students were on board when that overturned. The driver and 8 students, they were hospitalized, and then some parents took about five other students to the hospital. But I mean,
it shows how easy things can
escalate
can
quickly.
Go sideways. I mean, obviously we had that crash in Clark County from a couple years ago that led to the death of a student from the Dayton area.
So, talking about bus safety and what drivers just need to be reminded of when you're coming across one, because I mean, I've been there before where they put out the stop sign to stop and people just
blow
go
on
around,
by.
and you're not supposed to do that. So joining us right now, we have Morgan Dean with AAA. Hi there. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning. Good to see you all.
Hi. Okay. So overall, obviously there's going to be more buses on the roads right now. What is the number one reminder you think drivers need to know?
I think the big reminder for drivers is to change that mindset. We're not in summertime anymore. We're not looking at those open roads without school buses on them. We've got kids at bus stops. We've got school buses on the road. We've got inexperienced drivers driving to school. We've got kids in crosswalks around school zones. And we've got parent drop-off lines that may stretch out onto main roadways and other roadways out there. So there's a lot of different transportation challenges that have popped up overnight. So just get in that mindset, slow down, be focused, distraction-free, and on the lookout for the small ones, and give them that space that they need to be safe, especially around those bus stops and especially around those stopped school buses.
And we know that during, especially during the school year, that it's that period between 7 and 8 a.m. that is like the most lethal, especially for school-age pedestrians. What is it about those morning hours that are so dangerous?
We have drivers getting on the road, headed out for their morning rush hour, trying to get to work. The unfortunate thing with neighborhoods, a lot of drivers see stop signs in neighborhoods as a yield sign and roll through them. And that can be that very deadly moment where a child is about to cross into that street. So that's part of the reminder. We just have a lot more traffic on the road, kids trying to get to school, and more opportunities during those time periods. A big reminder to drivers and a recommendation: if you're uncomfortable during those times, you don't like those backups, they start to get you upset or a little bit agitated behind the wheel, leave beforehand or wait out those time periods and go afterwards, and take all that stress off the table before the day even starts.
And like we just kind of talked about earlier, we know that when you see the flashing red lights, the stop sign near a bus, stop. Do not go past it. But what other mistakes do Ohio drivers make when it comes to school buses?
I think it's a part of it's not being focused when they see them out there. And if you see one school bus out there, there's a very good chance that there could be others around there. I think it's just not being focused enough behind the wheel and doing all the things that they can do to be safe. And, it takes all the drivers in that long string of traffic that's coming or going or following behind that bus to be focused. It's going to be making a lot more stops. When you see those orange or red lights start to pop up and that arm coming out, you need to be stopping 10 feet back from the back of the bus, 10 feet from the front of the bus, making sure all those students cross that road safely, and then not taking off again until the bus takes off or until that bus driver gives you the okay that it's okay for you to take back off there. Focusing on all of that and making sure you're not being distracted by that cell phone. Too often people stopped in that line start to pull up their cell phones, and now their brain's starting to go to that phone instead of focus on the traffic around them. and that can cause some of those problems.
And you mentioned those cell phones and distracted driving, and we often talk about that statistic of, looking at your phone for a second, going 60 miles an hour, you cover however many football fields it is. But that's also a big key factor at those slower neighborhood speeds as well. Still taking your eye off to focus on that phone, you've covered a lot of distance.
The one we always like to throw out there for people to think about is looking away from the roadway for more than 2 seconds doubles your risk of being in a crash. But think about it in a roadway. What can be happening in a neighborhood? There could be a child standing by the side of the road, and if you're not paying attention on the road and you're looking at your phone, your car starts to weave over. That puts that child right in the middle of that danger zone. And that is not what we want to see. It is not a safe zone to be able to use your cell phone, even when you're stopped there. Get past all of that, get home. That's when you answer those. Put that phone in do not disturb mode. Throw it in the center console. Don't let it be a distractor for you.
And this is also a time of year where people maybe, like students just got their licenses or their permits and they're driving around. Maybe for the first time they're driving themselves to school. What do you urge parents, say and speak to their teenagers about when it comes to, these early mornings and these kind of busy afternoon routes?
Yeah, have that talk with them. Let them know that it's going to be a very, very busy transportation traffic situation out there. They're going to be facing a lot of new things that they may not have seen if they got that license back in June. There's going to be school buses out there, kids at those bus stops, kids in the crosswalk. Talk to them about all those things. It may be something they learned in driver's ed or they learned in that class, but really haven't been challenged on. And if you have that moment as a parent, get in the car, drive the route with them so they know what they're looking at, and mention some of those spots. Hey, we're going past an elementary school. This is going to be a busy area. There may be cars stopped here on the main road tomorrow as parents are doing drop off. Help them manage some of those expectations and just get ahead for them and get into that mindset as well. It can be very overwhelming as a young person. Suddenly there's buses, there's flashing lights, there's kids. It can be a lot for them. So helping out ahead of time can be a big way to work through that as a parent and as a teen driver.
All right, Morgan Dean from AAA, thanks so much for joining us. Definitely a big adjustment for all drivers this time.
Yeah.
We're out of practice. It's been 3 months.
Yes.
But definitely just make sure to pay attention, put the phones down.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, the owner of the San Francisco 49ers was busted in Northeast Ohio. We'll tell you about the charges he's facing, how it all came to be. Tyvis Powell joins us next to talk about it.
I'm Tracy Townsend, anchor at 10 TV News This Morning. My goal is simple, help you feel informed and connected. Because when news moves fast, you need a team that moves with you. Make the move to 10 TV News This Morning, weekdays from 5 to 9, anywhere you watch.
Welcome back to the big picture.
Yeah,
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Bryn. This is Collin.
Here's
and this is Tyvis.
Hello.
So,
all right, let's set this story up.
Right, a very weird connection between San Francisco and Mahoning County,
East Palestine, Ohio, which is just south, kind of east of Youngstown, about 45 minutes. So the owner of the 49ers, which is a football team based out of San Francisco, Jed York, he was arrested for prostitution. He was soliciting prostitution from a web ad online, and little did he know that it was a sting operation from Mahoning County Human Trafficking Task Force. He paid $140 and showed up to a trailer park and boom, got caught.
Wow.
So we're going to play this package that kind of gives a background on the whole situation that transpired over the weekend, why he was even in Youngstown to start with. And then we're going to get, of course, Tyvis's reaction to all of this.
What does a small town in Ohio have to do with the San Francisco 49ers? On this Monday, just about everything. 49ers owner Jed York was arrested Sunday in East Palestine, Ohio, after police say he responded to an online prostitution ad. According to the police affidavit, York arranged to meet a woman for sexual activity in exchange for $140. But the woman was actually an undercover agent with the Mahoning Valley Human Trafficking Task Force. York arrived at the designated location, a trailer park in East Palestine, and was arrested. He posted $5,000 bond, and then something happened that caught the attention of legal experts. Less than 24 hours after his arrest, York pleaded no contest to 2 misdemeanor charges of disorderly conduct and possessing criminal tools. The original prostitution charge amended as a part of a plea agreement.
Perhaps there was a a desire to just get this done as quickly as possible to save him from that additional embarrassment. It looks like there was an effort to expunge the record, which, whatever efforts, if the idea here was to get out ahead of this, get it done quickly and try to keep it under the radar, that clearly did not work.
To understand York's role, you have to understand the history of the 49ers ownership group. In 2000, Jed's mother, Denise DeBartolo York, took majority control of the franchise after her brother, Edward DeBartolo Jr., pled guilty to racketeering charges in Louisiana. Since then, 49ers beat writer Cam Inman says that Jed has been one of the most visible faces of the group.
Jed's kind of been the front man, essentially, for the last 15 years, I would say, at least. And but it seemed like this year he took a step back, obviously appointing Al Guido as the CEO back in February. And he's got some personal issues now he's going to sort through.
Now, Inman says the NFL has to figure out how it's going to handle one of its own owners.
I guess the NFL could suspend him in some capacity, but it's not like he's going to be missing the game or people will miss him. Maybe he's not allowed to come to an owners meeting. I don't know.
One fan we spoke with says at the very least, York owes everyone involved a public apology.
Really bad what he did. And I'm an Niner fan, man, but I'm against that either too, man,
As for the organization, they're keeping their response short at the moment. In a statement, they shared, quote, "As this is a legal matter, which has been resolved, we will not be providing any further comment at this time."
Okay, we are back.
Yeah, the question is, we're talking about the owner of a San Francisco team.
And someone in this room played for
Youngstown.
He signed my checks and I shook his hand after every game. Yes. He was a cool guy. He was a cool guy.
Did you wash your hands after?
I think I should have.
What was he doing in Youngstown?
He's from Youngstown, so he's probably going back to visit family. He's recently had a divorce, so maybe, he wanted some affection, so maybe that's why he sought out this situation, that's can't really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about his net worth and how $100
billion.
$60 billion.
What?
$60 billion.
Oh, sorry,
what is he worth? Half a billion or something like that?
Yeah. And $140. I mean, geez.
I mean,
so.
Why is everything come
back to Ohio?
There's always a time.
There's always a road back to Ohio.
It's weird because, again, like I say, you're recently going through a divorce and all those things. So, usually there is some. It's usually a grace period, where like a grace period. You just went through a divorce. Sometimes you want to be by yourself for a little bit, work on yourself, and then get back to the dating pool and things like that. I think he kind of skipped those steps and just kind of.
You think?
Yeah, he didn't want to think about that. He just wanted to get back to the action part of it, and it's unfortunate because who he is. You can't be a guy who's an owner of a team and put yourself in those positions to do that. And it's not just him. We've seen other owners around the NFL have situations close to this as well. So it's unfortunate that they feel like they can do this and get away with it. And he put himself in a situation where now he's gonna be looked at every time somebody sees him. That's the first thing that they're gonna think.
Just human trafficking in general is a huge issue in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah,
so it doesn't surprise me that Mahoney County was, had this task force and they were ready to jump.
Yeah, so the whole thing was a mess. I was shocked that he was able to get it all done in one day. I think he went to jail on Sunday.
Right, it happened kind of quick.
Yeah, had the case heard, pled no contest to it, and was paid the fine and got bail, and I think that's the end of it.
Right. I mean, that's why people kind of plead no contest, because it's just kind of you're not really confirming nor denying. Right. It's a neutral
but you caught
stand.
Me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
All right.
Well, anyway, that's the big news from sports in Ohio. Anything else?
The Hot Take Tuesday spent a lot today talking about the quarterback, the Deshaun Watson decision, and apparently, I would say probably 95% of this fan base is not happy with it, and I can understand that. You got a guy that comes out and says the things that he says, although he somewhat issued an apology yesterday. He didn't necessarily say the words, "I'm sorry." It was more like for understanding and things like that. I think that the Browns put themselves in a situation now where it better work. It has to work.
Yeah.
Like if Deshaun doesn't do well in these first couple of games,
People are threatening to become Buffalo Bills fans.
correct. It's for the first time in a long time.
Right.
Week 2 is going to be very interesting because he goes up against former Brown Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I believe that a great portion of the Browns fan base will be openly rooting for Baker Mayfield, and that's crazy to me.
Ugh. We'll keep watching it. I just got my cat's actually a Browns cat toy.
Oh.
They are also selling Ohio State jersey ones. They're so cute.
You get them on Ohio State?
No.
Why?
Because Roll Tide.
No.
Okay,
You know where you are now. Yeah, you got to embrace this.
I told you, half scarlet, half crimson. That's my heart. Okay. All right, we're going to take a 2-minute break. We'll be right back.
I'm Yolanda Harris. I'm a journalist at 10 TV News. I don't just report about our community, I belong to it. And that's why we care so deeply about getting it right. And when local journalism is done right, it moves. It moves you to act, to verify, to volunteer. And yes, it moves your heart through the kind of human storytelling that stays with you wherever you are. And at 10 TV, we're here for all of it. These are the stories that move Central Ohio.
9:30. Yeah, it's almost 9:32.
Yeah.
But let's go back down to Vinton County. It's a case we haven't talked about in a bit because really everything ground to a halt for a little bit.
Right. And this is just this is like the third case that we've been following this week. It just keeps getting more interesting.
Yeah, we've turned into a true crime podcast.
Literally. Well, I mean, let's put up I'm going to pull up these guys' mugshots. Let's get to why they were arrested.
Right. So Josh Saunders and Brandon Henderson were both indicted late last week, semi in connection to the case of the Siders. That's the family with the 16 kids found in that house in Hamden. So a judge set a $250,000 bond for 23-year-old Josh Saunders and 40-year-old Brandon Henderson Sr. Both men have pleaded not guilty to the charges against them. Now, Henderson, the older gentleman, the 40-year-old man, faces 21 counts. 8 of them are for gross sexual imposition, 8 counts of sexual battery, and 5 counts of endangering children. Saunders, the younger one, was indicted on 4 counts total, including 3 of rape and 1 of gross sexual imposition.
Right. And so the indictment says that these charges, they stem from incidents from back in January of 2020 and then November of 2025. So again, the big question mark is, how does this have anything to do with the Siders family?
And really, we still don't exactly know. But A.G. Wilson, Attorney General Andy Wilson, said this case of Saunders and Henderson is what led them to really the search warrant that we saw in the Siders house. So This was a separate investigation in March on Gary Siders Jr. and Elizabeth Siders involving allegations of unlawful sexual conduct with a minor.
And they're the parents of the 16
yes.
children.
And they are accused of engaging in sexual conduct with someone more than 10 years younger than their own age between January and September in the year 2022. However, they have the Wilson's office has said the victim in this case is not one of the family members.
Yeah, according to the AG's office, that search warrant that was carried out June 30th at the Siders home on Omer Street, where those 16 children were found, that was in connection to those allegations.
Right.
That's all we know right now.
Yeah, so we don't know what exactly is the tie between the younger Siderses and these 2 other people who are now facing indictments.
Right. We know that they still have yet to be indicted. The Siders family.
Right, well, Gary Jr. and Elizabeth both got indicted. 2 counts of sexual battery and 2 counts of unlawful sexual conduct.
When did that happen?
Late Friday.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I was like, we also had the big indictment come down there. So Gary Jr. and Elizabeth were both indicted on 2 counts of sexual battery and 2 counts of unlawful sexual conduct with a minor as part of that initial investigation. So we also have the indictments in the child endangerment case now. So Gary Jr., Elizabeth, and Christina, which is Gary Jr.'s mother, they are all indicted on 19 charges related to the child endangerment case. Gary Sr., though, only has 16 against him.
Yeah. Yep. I just wonder when the next hearing is
Right.
going to be for
Because
all of this, so we can learn more.
We've waited, what is this, a month and a half for this indictment
Happened
to come
in
down.
June.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it was June 30th.
We already know that this is exhausting the county resources there in Vinton County.
Right. We don't know, where these kids have ended up in placements. We'll never know that.
Yeah.
But, I knew we all know it was a struggle at the time to find placements for them. 16 kids thrown onto the foster system of a county that size. It was a Herculean effort to find that many people with that much open space.
So I feel like we obviously thought this case was one thing when we first heard about it.
Uh-huh.
Obviously,
And
it's developing into something bigger and larger, involving more people.
Uh-huh. So
we're going to keep following that for sure.
All right.
We're switching gears. We're talking about
Big
the
change.
economy. There's Collin.
Yeah,
Hey,
so
Collin.
we are talking about basically a new Treasury announcement coming out of Wyoming.
Yeah.
We're going to cover it. There's a whole lot of stuff wrapped up in this.
Yeah.
Between oil prices, basically the strength of the economy, the job markets. There's a lot that's coming out of this.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
I'm Jeff Hogan. I've been a journalist at 10 TV for more than 20 years. I don't just report about our community, I belong to it. And that's why we care so deeply about getting it right. And when local journalism is done right, it moves. It moves you to act, to speak up, or lend a hand. And yes, it moves your heart through the kind of human storytelling that stays with you wherever you are. And at 10 TV, we're here for all of it. These are the stories that move Central Ohio.
All right, welcome back to The Big Picture. It is 9:38 on your Tuesday. We're talking about the economy. There's a lot going on with it. We know investors are meeting in Jackson Hole, Wyoming right now.
Right.
On Wednesday, they'll be getting a really big, important update about inflation for these investors. And joining us right now, we have Jared Pinson with Cedarville University. He's an associate professor of economics. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so there's a lot happening with the economy right now. So big picture, why are we watching this week so closely?
Well, we're watching because the new Fed chairman is giving quite a large address at Jackson Hole. It's a yearly address, but there's a lot of questions as to what the Federal Reserve is doing. The new Fed chairman wants the market itself to do monetary policy more than the Fed. So what I mean by that is before the last couple of Fed chairmen, they've used forward guidance telling the market where the Fed is moving. And this particular Fed chairman is almost doing the opposite. He's allowing the market to either tighten or loosen on its own and then adjusting monetary policy from there.
And inflation, when we look at those numbers, is still running higher than the Federal Reserve would like it to be. Does this week's PCE report tell us anything about what we could see trending in the future?
Well, you're right that inflation has been running higher, and it's been fascinating to watch that the Federal Reserve hasn't really taken steps to push the inflation rate down towards their 2% target. They've been very comfortable over the last several years of running it, letting it run between 2.5% or higher. So this week, the idea of what's going on at Jackson Hole and any inflation numbers coming out before the Fed next meets in September will give us information as to where they are, what they are thinking, and where they think interest rates will go. So I'm not sure what he'll say, but everyone will be watching.
And I guess the other big thing too is we look at the inflation numbers, but for the average Joe out there who is looking to make a purchase, whether that be to buy a house or even just pay down credit card debt, the numbers that are tied to interest rates are also something that people have kept an eye on. Do we expect to see any indication of what we could see happen with the overall interest rates?
Well, it appears that the Federal Reserve is taking very seriously where inflation is going at this point. I don't think they have been, to be honest, the last several years. But it looks like they're comfortable with keeping interest rates higher, which means that we should not expect any sort of large reduction in, say, the 30-year rate that you would pay for a fixed-year mortgage. And I know that is frustrating, but the reality is we've been running inflation that has been higher than the target. Now, maybe Warsh will surprise us and talk about the need to bring interest rates down. But it's a tough thing to do when you have a federal debt that is $40 trillion at this point, and we have inflation that is running 2.5–3%, to then say we need to lower interest rates, which would just add more stimulus, which would push up inflation.
Right. So when we get to the end of this week, what would be a good sign that the economy is in a good position? And then what would be a red flag?
Well, I don't think the economy is in a bad position. We do have real GDP that is growing somewhere between 1.5% and 2%. I know it's not as robust as people would like, but it's certainly not terrible by any means. The unemployment rate has stayed relatively low. I think what has unnerved people this week is the intervention of the Treasury into the bond market and their willingness to try to put downward pressure on long-term rates when the market itself is saying that there's good reason that there should be pressure on the upward side. So I don't think anything this week will come out to tell us much more, but certainly before the Fed meets in mid-September, we'll have another jobs report. We've had a very weak last several months in the jobs market. We just had a negative month in July. So if August comes out to be a negative month, or even just small positive, then we have a problem in the labor market.
Okay. Dr. Jared Pinson, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
All right, coming up next, for some students, the end of the school day doesn't mean that there's something to eat at home. And that's why the Columbus Metropolitan Library is teaming up with the Children's Hunger Alliance to help make sure hungry kids have something to eat after school.
Not every weather impact day is dangerous, but plenty are inconvenient. That's where our weather impact team comes in, with the details that matter the most. Live, local, whenever you need it. No waiting, no guesswork. Stay in the know and be prepared with 10 TV.
All right, welcome back to The Big Picture. I'm Collin. She's Bryn. Right now, we are talking about child hunger going into the school year, and we're talking about a great partnership between the Children's Hunger Alliance and Columbus Metropolitan Libraries. And that's why right now we are joined by Laura Batt, who is the primary liaison with the Children's Hunger Alliance. You work for Columbus Metropolitan Libraries. We're also joined by the VP of Programs with the library system, Shannon Amos. Thanks so much for coming and talking with us. So there's always a lot of discussion about food insecurity among our children's schools. That's a big concern going into those summer months as well. But oftentimes when we go back to school, that breakfast and lunch served by the school can sometimes be the only thing a child eats that day. So from Columbus Metropolitan Library's perspective, why is this the step that the library system wants to take to make sure that these kids have something to eat?
I think it's just a logical step. We have so many kids in the afternoons that come right from school, and they haven't eaten anything since lunch. So this is the only thing that they will have until they go home later in the evening. And a lot of kids come to do schoolwork. We do have a school help center where a lot of kids utilize that space, and if they're hungry, they're not going to be able to focus. They're not going to be able to learn and do the work that they need to do.
And so it's not every branch that's offering these, right? It's 19 of them.
19 out of the 23 locations.
So when it came to picking the 19 out of these 23, what went into that decision of, okay, these are the ones that we're going to offer these at?
Yeah, sure. So this is a federal program, and so it's based on eligibility for students at the nearest school building. So for the branches that do qualify, they have a high percentage of free reduced eligible kids, and that's what allows them to participate.
And what does the after-school snack actually look like?
So it's a whole package, and there is a grain, a fruit, a protein, and a dairy in every meal. So it really, there's, I think, about 10 different meals. And so they're not eating the same thing every day, but the kids definitely do have their favorites. But it's a very well-rounded meal, I would say. It's pretty nutritious, and it fills them up.
Right. I've worked in a library for a period, and the great thing about working in a library is you come in contact with a huge swath of the population. You see people from all walks of life, and the Children's Hunger Alliance provided more than 10 million meals last year to 125,000 children. So what does that say when it comes to food insecurity right here in, the portions of the city that you serve?
Yeah, I think, the Columbus Metro Library branches are spread throughout the community, so it's a natural partnership for us to attract kids from a lot of different neighborhoods and school buildings. You never know what a family is going through, and so for anybody to be able to show up and know that they can get a meal that day, we have a lot of stories from, families that say I was really tight on, funds this week, and it really helped my family out. It's not all the time, it's not every day, but, it's an available resource, and it's available in a lot of different areas, especially here in Columbus. So that's really the beauty of that partnership.
So beyond just providing food and a nutritious meal for these kids, how do you see these snacks help them excel actually academically within school?
I think, like I said, the kids that are hungry are not going to be able to focus, are not going to be able to just have a healthy mind, healthy body, healthy mind. So I think it's we're just in a really unique position to, we have this partnership that, we have so many kids that we see after school. It's just a great partnership that we can provide these meals for kids just every day except Sunday. So yeah.
That's what I was going to say too. This partnership's going on 10 years, and the fact that we can serve year round and it's a known resource in the community, it's a sustainable source of nutrition for kids, is really kind of the beauty of the program.
Right. And, for those parents out there who need that little leg up out there, obviously the library is one of those few remaining free third spaces that's out there, because besides the snacks, there's also so many other resources that are out there to help parents and families who might just need a little extra. Where can somebody go to kind of find out a little more information?
They can go to our website, columbuslibrary.org, and it's right there on the front page. They can click on the link and find out where the serving locations are and what time they serve.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank
Laura,
you.
Shannon. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Talking about that. All right. We're going to be back to wrap it all up.
The 10 TV Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news, live from the scene. All the news you need. 10 TV Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
All right. Let's talk about a cat.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. So there's a cat in Wisconsin, born with a whopping 29 toes. That is a lot of toes.
Everyone, it's a Maine Coon.
So
Obviously,
pretty.
I love Maine Coons. I have two.
But what makes this cat even more special, besides the 29 toes, is that is also a world record number of toes for a cat.
So crazy.
His name is Erebus.
Yeah.
Yeah, born back in March. He beat the toe record by 1. The other cat held the toe record since 2002 of 28 toes.
Yeah, and if you're looking at this video, you can kind of see his left paw.
Yeah.
It's bigger than normal paws because it has extra toes.
Look
This is him as a little baby.
And you.
So cute.
Which are either one of your Maine Coons polydactyl? Like, because I know people are like, oh, my cat has an extra toe.
No.
Sometimes no. You got normal cats.
Mine are perfect. So
Yeah.
I'm joking. No, they don't have that. But I just love these Maine Coons when they're kitties. Come on, does that not just bright up your Tuesday? I just like how when they're like kittens like that, their paws are so much bigger than their bodies.
And their
And then
ears.
this one has, an extra toe.
Yeah.
Or 2 or 3. And his paws look even extra bigger. Wow. World record broken.
Right. So, gosh, what if he was born in March? Yeah, he's 8 months old.
Do you need another kitty?
No, wait, 6 months. 6
Want me
months
to
old.
reach out?
I don't need another cat. I have Myrtle. She is fine.
You have your one kitty.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have about 2 minutes left, Collin.
Gosh. Any big plans for your Tuesday?
For my Tuesday, I too have to drop off dry cleaning.
Yeah. If you have a good, if you
we
have
live
a
such
good
fun lives.
dry cleaner recommendation, email us at thebigpicture@10tv.com. I'm constantly looking for a cheaper dry cleaner.
Yeah.
I've tried multiple.
But it's going to be another nice day today. I mean,
It
the
is.
sun's going to be out. It's kind of that mild temperature
I
that
went on
everyone
a
likes.
6-mile walk yesterday.
Okay,
so
nice. Got some steps in.
Yeah, I'm trying to be better about that.
Yeah.
Some days it's hard because some days I just want to go home and nap. Today is one of those days
Yeah.
where I want to go home and nap, but I cannot let myself do it.
Don't let yourself do it.
I know. I have to force myself to get out and do things.
I mean, if I take a nap, I cannot wake up. Like I will wake up, but then I'm just totally messed up for the rest of the evening.
See, I've mastered being able to do that. Take like a 30-minute nap, up, gone.
Nope.
But yeah, we'll see what happens today. Rest of the week, we got pretty decent weather. I think the next chance of rain, though, is coming in Thursday. Other than that, we do have a few days to dry out. Humidity going to be pretty low as well. Today will be comfortable. Starts ratcheting up again tomorrow. But yeah, we do see that chance for rain on Thursday. But thankfully, not everyone is going to see that rain.
Good.
I know.
I don't want to see
more
it.
people yeah. As Justin said, you got a good couple days to mow your mud because everybody's yard is
just torn apart right now.
Rough.
And the grass is high. I mean, my
Yeah.
hydrangeas are looking better because of all the rain.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I've got friends in the old town east neighborhood. They're still trying to put things back together from a couple weeks ago. We need a few dry days.
Yeah, we do.
We do. And,
But we're getting them.
Yeah.
I actually did go get my car washed yesterday. That was pretty
I did
nice.
too.
Good.
I did too.
Look at us.
Yeah.
Doing big things. Alrighty. Well, that's it for the big picture today. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
See ya.